Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be why guys who focus on a relationship don't get one. Well, I've got to email this particular guy. He's one of those dudes who's lazy, who thinks he's going to figure everything out by cherry picking from my videos. And so he hasn't taken the time to read 3% Man. And so he's making a lot of unnecessary mistakes here. And his whole mindset is completely wrong. And I mean, it's just kind of funny how after about a month of dating, he's like, I was prepping everything for the relationship talk. But if he's been watching my videos, he should know by now that the guy should not be focused on that. And as I talk about in 3% Man, the man's job in the courtship is just simply to create the next opportunity for sex to happen, to hang out, to have fun, to hook up. The overwhelming majority of guys that are trying to date women and trying to lock them down into a relationship, they're all going way faster than the women are. And so they're more into the women than women are into them. And women don't care about what a great dude you are, or what a great boyfriend you can be, or potential husband. They only care about how they feel about you. And in all of these cases, because I used to make the same stupid mistakes when I didn't know any better, because what do you see on TV? What do you see in the movies? You better put a ring on it. Better lock her down, or some dude's going to come along and steal her away from you if you don't hurry up and get to the marriage altar, or else you're going to lose her. Somebody's going to take her from you. So this whole mindset that has been taught to generations of guys, and then when you go back in time and you go and you look at like older movies, especially the black and white movies, and one of the favorite ones I like to bring up a lot is It's a Wonderful Life, which was made in 1946. So that's a long time ago. But when you compare how the men and women behaved in that movie versus what you see today, is you got the women of today acting like men and the men acting like women. And so the sexual polarity is completely the opposite. And so what you'll notice in It's a Wonderful Life is Mary, the female lead character played by Donna Reed, has had a crush on Jimmy Stewart's character who plays George Bailey since they were kids. And she always dreamed of being Mrs. George Bailey and having babies that looked like George Bailey. And so the movie is this beautiful love story of how she's always trying to get his attention. And obviously whenever they're together, he lights up as well, but he's got plans to get out of the Bedford Falls, which is a small town that they live in, go to the big cities, see the world, travel the world, become a man of business, become a world traveler. He's not interested in settling down in a white picket fence and staying in the small town that he grew up in. But over the course of the love story evolving, everything Mary is doing is to get the two of them together. And the women in the neighborhood obviously are conspiring as well to try to get the two of them together. Because when they're together, there's obviously sparks between them. But the whole point being is a mindset is he's not wanting anything to do with settling down in marriage and a relationship and family and all that. Because he's got other plans for his life. But Donna Reed's character, she wants to nest and have a family and buy that old rundown house at that cul-de-sac that's been abandoned for years and fix it up and fill it full of their children and their family and their friends and have a wonderful life together. And so you read an email like this where the guy is basically taking on the woman's role, and even though he's watching my videos, he's cherry picking things. And without realizing, that's why I say you got to read the book 10 to 15 times to understand the philosophy. So he's doing and saying things, and he's giving off the vibe that basically is causing him to act like a woman. And so it's getting in the way of the girl he's dating wanting to be exclusive with him. But also there are some things that may be concerning, but you can tell he's already decided he wants her in a relationship, and she's still on the Hinge dating app, very active in meeting other guys. And so if you take a step back and you look at the actions, he's trying to lock her down, and she's trying to gain her freedom, if you will. And she's even telling him where she's at, but it's like he's just totally focused on locking her down to a commitment, even though he's doing the exact opposite of what I teach. And so he shouldn't be surprised that it's not going well for him. So you don't want to do what this guy is doing, because this will cause you to chase women right out of your life. And these are women that already like you, that are into dating you. But when you act needy and clingy, and the other thing is he's starting to be a little bit controlling about what she does, where she goes, who she's with, because he's all focused on locking her down and getting her to pay attention to him and do what he wants, instead of seeing himself as the prize and the catch and the guy who's got to be won over, like George Bailey's character got won over by Mary in It's a Wonderful Life. So he says, "Hi, Corey. I've been watching your videos for quite some time now, and I'm in a similar situation as your recent video, Why She's Not Ready for a Relationship. I'm 30, and I've been dating this 27-year-old woman for about 4 months. Objectively, I would say things have progressed rather quickly. Just to summarize, we had sex by date 3. Well, as the book says, most women are going to sleep with a guy by the second or third date. That's if you're doing what's in the book. And pretty much every time we've ever hung out, besides one time when she was on day 1 of her period. We have like 3 to 5 sessions of the Indoor Olympics every night. We usually hang out 2 to 3 times a week, and I sleep over. At around the 3-month mark," so notice what he says now. Again, this is the total opposite, and I say don't do this. There's a reason, because this is feminine energy. This is the woman's department. He's acting like a chick here that's thinking about starting a family and completely ignoring the fact that this girl isn't even anywhere close to where he is. He's focused on his high interest in her, and he's totally ignoring that her interest is not that high in him. And his whole mindset is, how do I get her to pay attention to me? How do I get her to commit to me? How do I get her to choose me? And this is not the mindset of a high-value guy. That's the mindset of a loser. That's the mindset of a guy that can't get a date. That's the mindset of the guy that can't get any women to want to stay with him more than a few weeks or a few months. And so it's not a winning mindset. And what happens is you give off the vibe and you start making the girl feel like she's being smothered. And as Thich Nhat Hanh used to say, you must love in such a way that the person you love feels free. So when a guy becomes needy and clingy and he over pursues, the woman starts to feel like she's losing her freedom and she's going to back off. And in this case, what he's literally doing is he's causing her to not feel feelings of attraction, but he's actually causing her to lose interest. And as her feelings start to dissipate, she's trying to find a man that makes her feelings grow to the point where she wants to be in a relationship. You can't negotiate desire or interest. Women take time to fall in love, and they typically take way longer to fall in love than us guys do. And, probably as soon as this guy had sex with this girl, he's like right away, oh, this is the wife. This is the girl I want as my girlfriend, without really paying attention to vetting her properly. So he's already chosen her. In other words, for her, she's already won the race. But for him, he's barely got out of the starting gate in her eyes, and she's still seeing what else is out there. So he says that, and this is just cracks me up, that this guy writes it. He's been following my videos, and he writes this paragraph thinking that's, it's like, come on, dude, that's the opposite of everything that you're learning from me. He says, at around the 3-month mark, I started prepping the conversation to establish expectations for what each of us want in the relationship, for what each of us want. What it really is I'm trying to lock her down. He doesn't care what she wants. He cares about what he wants. And he's ignoring the fact that she's not there yet. You have to let women come to you at their pace. You cannot force yourself into their life. The reason I did this was because I noticed her Hinge account was still active. Although I didn't bring this up directly, and I wanted to get a better understanding of her mindset while also starting to establish boundaries. She's not your girlfriend, bro. And vetting her for a potential long-term relationship. Again, as the book says, which you obviously have not read, a man's job in a courtship is to create an opportunity for sex to happen. not to get her to commit to a long-term relationship. That is her job. And so your mindset, your actions, your vibe, everything you're giving off is the opposite of what you need to be doing in order to be successful. And that's why you're 4 months into this, and this girl is seems like she's getting more active in Hinge because you're obviously chasing her out of your life. He says early in the relationship, and his whole mindset is like he thinks he's in a relationship. Like, bro, you're not in a relationship. You're just hooking up with this girl. That's it. You're just casually dating. All relationships start as casual dating and hooking up. Early in the relationship, she stated that she only sleeps with one guy at a time, so I found her being so active on Hinge to be a little odd. Well, she only sleeps with one guy at a time because, quite frankly, unless you're having a threesome, that's kind of impossible to sleep with multiple guys at once. So in her mind, because women tend to live moment by moment, whereas a guy thinks if she's sleeping with him, that because obviously he's not sleeping with anybody else at this point, then he assumes she's doing the same thing. But the fact that she's active on Hinge, instead of looking at that and going, okay, well, she's obviously, I'm not that important to her. I'm not that big of a priority. So therefore, let me match and mirror the lack of priority I am in her life to my life as well. In other words, she's going to go drop down on the totem pole, if you will. She's going to go to the back of the line. On your practice squad, she's going to be one of those players that are now in the bubble, meaning they're barely on the practice squad and they're further away from making the team and more likely to get released from the practice squad. He says, she asked me what I wanted from the relationship. You're not in a relationship, dude. You're just dating. That's it. You're dating and you're hooking up. You're casually dating. That's it. And I kept it vague, saying I was having a fun time and looking forward to seeing where it progresses. Well, you're saying that, but your words, your actions, and your deeds communicate you want to lock her down. And part of the problem is that you're saying one thing and your body language and your tone of your voice is communicating the opposite. So you're not being congruent. This is the kind of thing that causes a woman to not trust your masculine core. She said something similar and then asked me about red flags. So I mentioned that if she wanted me to take the relationship seriously, she'd have to be more communicative when she goes out partying with friends. So in other words, I want to know what you're doing and where you're going and who you're doing it with. As if because again, he's thinking this is my girlfriend and she's supposed to do these things that I want. And so instead of being the prize, and because if a woman falls in love with you, if you're applying what's in the book, eventually, typically week 6 or 7, she's going to be stuck to you like a sucker fish. And quite frankly, she's going to be wanting sex more than you, and she's going to be wanting to spend more time with you than you, quite frankly, want to spend with her. But you've got this whole thing twisted, and you're completely upside down here from a leverage perspective. She initially thought my request was controlling. Well, because it's obvious you feel out of control in this relationship that you think that you're in. And so you're trying to force things. Now you're trying to force yourself into her life. She's not ready to be in a relationship, so now you're trying to control what she does when she's not with you and where she goes, as if she's supposed to report to you like you're the prison warden or something. It's absurd, dude. It's totally out of place and it's not appropriate. He says, but I pivoted the conversation to highlight her being out to 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning wouldn't be conducive to a strong relationship, which she finally agreed to. Well, the way I would phrase it, if she's talking about these things, I would be, because again, if you're the prize and you're the catch and you're the one that she's trying to lock down, you would be saying things along the lines of, well, if you're wanting to be in a relationship with me or you're trying to convince me why I should become your boyfriend or agree to it, but yet you're going out every weekend and you're staying out till 3 or 4 a.m. Friday, Saturday night, or several days a week, I look at that and I go, well, she's obviously having fun, probably a party girl, not really that serious about a relationship, and she just seems to be all about having a good time. So when you see a woman behaving that way, you'd be like, well, that's kind of, I'm not really looking to have a girlfriend that wants to go clubbing every night till 3 or 4 a.m. And then she can choose to start doing more things with you instead of being out all night, instead of you saying, I need to know where you're going, who you're doing it with, where you're at. You need to text me when you get home. You just see the vibe and the mindset. Because she's not freely choosing to be with him because he's so impatient. He's not letting her come to him. So now he's trying to control her life and force her to do the things he wants because he's only focused on his interest. And he's totally ignoring that she's just not in the same place that he is. So he says, fast forward another month and things have continued to progress. She has definitely begun to adapt her lifestyle to mine, promising to stop vaping, going out less with friends, cooking for me, etc. So there's a whole other list of things he's wanting her to do and impose. Now he's telling her she's got to stop vaping, she's got to spend less time with her friends and more time with him. And you can't negotiate a woman's feelings for you, dude. That is not going to work. It's going to blow up in your face and you're going to chase her out of your life. He says the sex has continued to be great, and I've kept things fun and light, and we go on amazing dates at least once per week, and I sleep over anywhere from 2 to 3 times per week. Well, does she ever stay at your house? Again, because he's trying to force himself into her life, he's going to her house so he can make sure he knows what's going on where she's at, instead of letting her come to him and stay at his house. It just shows the controlling nature of how he's showing up here. He says, however, this past weekend I slept over at her place, and after we had sex, she re-engaged the "what are we" talk that I had started a month prior. Earlier that week, I had been on vacation out of the country, so I surprised her with a bouquet of flowers with a note. You only give flowers to your wife or your girlfriend, not a girl you're just casually dating. So again, if you'd read the book, you would know these things, but you're cherry picking, so you're missing a lot of things that are causing you to look very unattractive. And that's why if you'd have been like my best students that read the book 10 to 15 times, she'd have been in love by week 6 or 7, and now here you are 4 months into it, and you're having a hard time getting her to pay attention to you. To my surprise, however, during the talk, she stated that I've been doing everything right for us to be official. Again, she knows you're being a great guy and everything. Doesn't fucking matter. The only thing that matters is her feelings and how she feels about you. And that's what you're continually ignoring because you're projecting your high interest on her and you're totally ignoring that she's not feeling it. You can't negotiate this. You can't talk her into loving you. She stated that I've been doing everything right for us to be official, but that she's not ready for a relationship. Then she sort of went into a monologue. First, she said that she didn't expect to meet such a great guy while she was in her single phase. It's like, it all sounds nice, but at the end of the day, what is she telling you? I want to stay single. I want to continue to play the field. I want to see what's out there because you're not stimulating my emotions enough. That's basically what she's communicating. She said she was starting to really like me a lot and had canceled on her friends a few times in order to hang out with me. Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're 4 months in and she's not ever head over heels in love with you because you've been doing the opposite of what the book teaches. So you're delaying her falling in love and you're delaying her becoming strongly emotionally bonded to you. She also felt that our lives were becoming really integrated to where it feels like we're living together. Yeah, because you're probably constantly imposing yourself on her and staying over when she's not really invited you to, but she doesn't really say anything because it seems like you're always going to her place and always staying at her house. Because again, you're trying to control the situation where you go to her. Therefore, if you create the conditions where she's supposed to come to you, then that puts some doubt in your mind that she may cancel. She may say, hey, I'm going home. This way, if you're at her house, she's got to basically ask you to leave. And women are typically not going to do that unless you're making them feel really uncomfortable. So you're not staying at her house because she's excited to have you there. You're only staying there because you kind of imposed on her. That's basically what you're doing. You're imposing yourself and your presence and your will onto her. And she likes you, and that's why she's allowing you to get away with it, but you're cheating yourself. You're preventing her from falling in love with you because you're totally focused on her attention and validation and acting like the chick in the relationship. She then got onto the topic of her ex-boyfriend. They've been broken up for a year, but they dated for 6 years prior to that. She mentioned that he gaslit her a lot and was controlling. So the fact that she's telling you about the ex that was controlling, what she's trying to say is the reason I'm bringing this guy up is to let you know that you're making me feel the same way he did. And it's unattractive and controlling. And she feels she wasted a lot of her prime years with him where she didn't get to experience a single life and doing what she wants to do. So part of that is, again, she spent 6 years with this guy and he controlled every aspect of her life. And she's not in a relationship with this dude that wrote the email, and yet he's expecting to know where she's at, what she's doing, who she's with, when she's going to be home, telling her you shouldn't be vaping, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. Like he's in charge of her. It's like she hasn't chosen you to be her boyfriend yet, dude. Then she said a lot of triggering and red flag words. She called our relationship a situationship, and then said she doesn't know what she wants right now. This is so predictable. And that she is emotionally unavailable and broken. Well, that's not good to hear that. When a girl says she's broken, when she says she's screwed up, or, hey, I screw up all my relationships, you should believe that. So there's some definitely red flags, and this is why you don't go goo goo gaga over a girl just because you're sleeping with her and be trying to lock her down while ignoring the fact that she's very active on Hinge. In other words, she keeps telling you she wants to sleep with many other guys because she missed out on that because of her controlling ex-boyfriend. And she's telling you about the controlling ex-boyfriend because you're trying to control her in some of the same ways. If the whole idea is that she's got to be the one to choose you. You should not be focused on any of this stuff. To this, I initially said that maybe it's best if I give her space to figure out what she wants. Again, because he's trying to pressure her to a commitment, and he's ignoring the fact that she's not feeling it. You can't negotiate desire. You can't talk a woman into loving you. It just doesn't work that way. When I said this, she grabbed me super tight so I couldn't get out of bed. Then I asked if she was happy with where we are, and she said, yes, I am happy with you. So then I told her that we should just focus on that and live in the moment, and we don't need to worry about labels like boyfriend and girlfriend, even though you're totally obsessing over it constantly. So your actions say one thing, and your words are the exact opposite. I slept over. In other words, I imposed myself on her once again, and we had sex again in the morning. We made plans to hang out again the next Wednesday. However, once again, I noticed that she's super active on Hinge the past 2 days, and she hasn't texted or called me at all because you're over pursuing and you're smothering this girl. You're doing the opposite of what the book teaches. At this point, she should be doing 100% of the pursuing, but more than likely, you're probably doing most of that too. I haven't reached out either since I was planning on giving her some space anyways. Well, as the book says, you go back to the once a week date rule if you don't hear from her for a whole week. I just wanted your opinion on if you think it's worth my time to continue dating her. Well, you should be casually dating her the way you claim you're dating her. But the reality is you're trying to get her to commit to a relationship because you're focused on that, and you're not really paying attention to these potential red flags. You don't know what you don't know about this girl. It's obvious from her actions that you're really not as important to her as she is to you. And so you should be matching and mirroring that. I feel like I'm in a prisoner's dilemma where the obvious choice is to spin plates. Well, that's probably part of your other problem is you've been listening to a bunch of dunces in the red pill community, and these guys don't understand this. They don't understand how attraction works. It's just black and white. Oh, she's modern woman, and therefore they're all screwed up, and I don't have to do anything. It's not my fault she's not attracted to me and I'm turning her off. It's because she's a modern woman, and it's feminism. And that's a cop-out. It's like these guys all have the same similar problems. They can't read a woman's interest. They don't know how to communicate with women. Quite frankly, they don't really like women, and they're nasty to them, and women don't like them either. And date other women while she figures her stuff out, but I sort of view that as a time waster since I am the type of guy that prefers to date one woman at a time. Dude, this girl is all over Hinge. She's probably sleeping with several other guys. You've got her on a pedestal, kissing her ass and treating her like a celebrity, and she's just not feeling the same thing, dude. You gotta let women come to you at their pace. You're doing the opposite of what I teach. That's why you're spinning your wheels and getting nowhere. At the same time, however, being in this state of limbo is weighing on me. I've been weighing the pros and cons. Positively, I'm having regular sex with a very attractive woman while I can still go out and date other people. That's exactly what you should be doing. You should be trying to get the best girl that you can get. And all she's telling you is that, hey, you're not a priority to me. And, I'm getting my pelvis beat up by Chad Thundercock every weekend when I'm not with you. How would you approach this situation? Well, I'd be backing off completely. Number one, you got to read the book. You got to follow the instructions. Or you can continue to chase your tail like a lot of the red pill dunces do and get nowhere. It's not working for you, this approach that you're taking. You're not seeing reality as it is. You're seeing it as better than it is, and that's creating problems for you. So you told her you're going to give her space. You haven't heard from her in a couple of days because this is probably one of the first times you've actually backed off instead of smothering her, and you may not hear from her for a week or a week and a half. But what's happening is you're pursuing too much and you're not giving her enough time and space away from you to wonder about you, to think about you, and to miss you. You got to read the book and you got to learn the fundamentals. There's no shortcuts to success. If you don't understand how attraction works, which it's obvious that you don't, and all this other crap content that you're consuming on the internet is not helping you. It's causing you to continue justifying displaying a whole hell of a lot of really unattractive behavior, but because of the stuff you're consuming, it justifies your approach, and you're not changing it, and you're not seeing the fact that you're literally chasing this girl out of your life. So if you got a question or a challenge and you'd like to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.